Perfect. So we've started record now. Fantastic. We're going to start the Linguistars Ambassador Q&A. So we'll start with something about the societies. So how many societies would you say you could do whilst at university? And could you do more than one? Who shall I come to there? I can see lots of nods. Hugo, fantastic.
Yeah, I'd say that. We had a similar question in the Panto taster session. First and foremost, I think it depends on what course you do. For example, if you're doing something super intense like medicine, I would expect you to only have time to do one society, perhaps two, but that will be pretty much all your free time. For me personally, I study theatre and I've got time to do like 3, maybe 4 societies. Obviously, it's up to you how much you get involved in them. You know, say if you're doing a sports team, you might want to be there every single practice, so that might be the only society you do. If you're doing a performance society, you might want to be there or you might have to be there for every rehearsal. It really depends, but I'd say you could definitely do 2 easily. And the rest is sort of a matter of personal preference and how you personally manage your time and your workload.
Fantastic. And Robin's got a hand up. Do you want to add anything to that, Robin?
Yeah, I was just going to add that one of the good things about here at Leeds is that in the first few weeks of university, we actually have something called Give It a Go sessions. So it gives you the opportunity to actually try out different societies. So if you look at one and go like, I might try it out and see if it's for me. And then it's just a nice way of sort of getting involved, meeting people who are thinking the same as you. So yeah, so you can try out as many societies as you want to then narrow it down to the ones that you feel most comfortable in.
That's great. And a sort of follow-up question to that, we have got another question about societies. Would you recommend joining one in your first year whilst you're getting used to everything? Ben?
Yes, I would definitely recommend that. And I think, I don't know if when you came to secondary school, you were told that you needed to join a club, but I would definitely recommend joining one in your first even in your first term. As scary as it might seem, actually it's a really important way to make friends, and depending on you might not know that many other people. So like, I was fortunate enough that I met lots of nice people on my course, and I also had lots of nice people in my accommodation too. But I also knew people who maybe hadn't made as many friends, were a bit shyer, and their society involvement and their friends that they'd made through their society was their kind of like main social circle. And that, so it's definitely worth joining at least one, I would say, if not more, in your first semester, not as well as your first year of university. Gives you something to do as well. And yeah, everyone's looking to make new friends. And also, in society is you get a lot of people that come back year after year. So they've kind of like got a pre-made friendship group, and they're always really welcoming, I found, in the societies that I was involved in, to kind of like welcoming the freshers in to kind of be part of the friendship group as well. So you've kind of got like a ready-made network of friends there as well. And as well as there'll be first years like you, who you kind of bond with as well. So like the first people that I met at my musical society, for example, were first years, and like we're still friends now. So
yeah, nice way to meet different people.
Exactly, and people come from different courses as well, and they're at different stages of their uni degree. So it's a really great way of kind of getting a picture of the wider student group, not just the people in your flat or on your course.
Fantastic, thank you, Ben. So I'll carry on with a couple more questions about societies. It feels like it makes sense to do that, but there are lots of other questions going to be coming up. How much on average does it cost to join a society? Someone is asking. Harriet. Oh, you muted.
So the boat club, for example, is one of the my more expensive societies, and I think our membership ranges, but generally it's about £80 for the year. And then you pay kind of travel, which I was talking in like my session that generally is around £2 to £3 per session, and that gets you down to the boat club. However, I've got another society that I'm part of, and that cost me £10 for the whole year. And then we pay, and that's the baking society, and we pay £1 per meeting, which is every 2 weeks. So and that involves you get to eat lots of cake and it's wonderful. So yeah, there's kind of I think it depends on what your society does as well, how much they kind of put on during the week session wise, and yeah, what's involved. But I think there are ways around it. And so, you know, if there are financial kind of factors involved, talk to the union, or talk to a lot of them have treasurers. Well, they need to have treasurers to be part of the club. So talk to them if you've got a problem like that, because they're happy to help.
Can I just quickly add something?
Yeah, of
Sorry,
course.
I don't know how to put my hand up.
No, of course.
Hugo's just put in the chat as well, but any student that's on the Plus program can get like all of their society memberships refunded. So you literally just apply to their fund and then they'll give you the money for it.
That's fab. Thank you, Hannah. We'll be hearing a little bit more about Access to Leeds and the Plus program in, I think, the last session. But that's if you're coming in through our alternative admission scheme, Access to Leeds, you'll be a member of the Plus program, and I think other people can also be members of the Plus program, so they'll be able to offer that financial support. So perfect. Thank you, Hannah and Hugo. Someone's asked, does your society have to fit in with your degree? I think we've probably touched on that, haven't we? Does anyone want to? Yeah, Robin.
So a bet, like, the obvious answer to this is absolutely not. Like, there are societies that have got to do with your degree. So there are academic societies. So there's, for example, for language societies, there's a Spanish society, Italian society. If you're studying law, there's even a law society. But yeah, it does not have to be related to your degree at all. You don't need to have any experience. I think it's really just go there and be enthusiastic, and you will learn stuff as you go along with the society. Like, I'm quite interested myself in like musical theatre and like spoken word and that sort of thing, which is completely unrelated to my degree, but it's something that I really enjoy like doing in my free time.
Perfect. Thank you, Robin. Okay, I think we'll move on to, we've got some questions about learning languages, so I think we'll go on to those next. So someone has asked, is studying Arabic really challenging, and can it be studied by a beginner? I know we've got a couple of Arabic students here. Someone wants to, oh, Teba, perfect, thank you.
Yeah, so I study Arabic, well, I've just finished now, but I would say that like any language, Arabic is difficult because you're not learning, it's not like the English alphabet, it's a whole new alphabet. It's different sounds and noises that you don't make in English. So it is challenging. I wouldn't lie and say, no, it's fine, it's really easy. But I would say, like anything, like any other language and anything in life, it's difficult in the beginning. And then the more effort you put into it, the easier it becomes, especially like, I know like Hannah also studied Arabic. You can attest to how our first year teacher, she was amazing, and they literally help you with absolutely everything. And there are so many Arabic students. I know I definitely benefited from like speaking to international students and Arabic natives who are very helpful, but it gets so easy, and especially, well, it gets easier. I don't say it gets so easy, it gets easier. When you get to your second year and you go on your year abroad, your level just jumps up. So yeah, I don't know if Hannah, if you have anything to add to that, but
I would just like reiterate that your first year is really where you learn like all of the foundations, and the lecturer that you have is literally like the best lecturer. So they'll make it so easy for you to learn all of the basics. And then, as Tabor said, when you go on your year abroad, you'll really build on that. So whilst it may seem like really strange to you at first, you're taught like from like zero. So you don't have to have any prior knowledge of the language. So it is like, some parts can be difficult, but because you do start from the basics, I'd say that it is like your first year is relatively easy.
That's perfect. Thank you very much. Great answer. So someone's asked, how much of your degree is based on actually learning the language rather than the cultural modules?
Is this for Arabic as well?
I think that's a general question. I think it's a different question. So Esme.
Yeah, so something I found really weird when I first came to uni was that like you can kind of if you're not really into grammar so much, that you can really avoid doing that by just doing like cultural modules. You can do like literature modules, cinema modules. I do think languages give you a lot of flexibility with what you're able to do. So in my second year, I've done 2 cinema modules. I've done a module all about Italian history and war and stuff. And actually, only maybe 40% has been like core language. But if you are really into stuff like grammar and language and learning more, there's obviously like translation modules and stuff. So it's really up to you. You do have a lot of flexibility to pick your strengths and do modules that fit with what you're good at.
That's great. And Ben, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and me and Esme both do 2 languages. So generally, when you're kind of picking your modules, you can choose, I think it's, just trying to think off the top of my head now how many modules it is. It's 3 modules for one language and 3 modules for the other. And one of those for each language needs to be a grammar module. But if you just do single honours, say for example, my friend does single honours German, she only actually has to do that one grammar module, and then she's free to pick lots of other different modules too. So kind of like Esme said, she can do film, she can do lots of different modules from the school, but also some discovery modules as well that we spoke about last week. So yeah, you're not constantly, your whole time isn't basically just learning grammar or learning the actual language. But what is significant is that in your second year and final year as well, a lot of the modules are taught in the target language as well, which is really great to kind of improve your listening skills. So some is taught in English still, but there are other modules that are taught in the target language, and you shouldn't be scared of those, because by the time you get to second year, you feel like you're already kind of ready for them, and it's not a big scary thing. But that also helps with your kind of language acquisition and improvement. And obviously, if you're contributing in that language as well, then that helps to bring you on in terms of your language skills.
Fantastic, thank you. So now there were a couple of questions actually about assessments. So people are asking how you're assessed on language courses. Is it a series of exams at the end of the year, or is it something different? Robin, you've got your hand up, perfect, thank you.
So the good thing about studying languages at Leeds is that we actually have a variety of assessment methods. So it could be exams that you have to sit, but it's mostly actually coursework. So it's mostly stuff like essays or maybe like literature reviews, and yeah, there's lots of different activities that you can get that you are assessed on. So yeah, it's definitely not just exam based, but I'm guessing that gives you a lot more independent time, and it actually gives you a lot more time to sort of develop your research skills and actually find out more about a particular topic that you quite like. And the way that your timetable is set out as well for university is to allow you to give more independent study time for you to actually research the topic and then find out more about it, as well as getting involved in more extracurricular activities as well to try and deepen that thinking process. So yeah, so overall there's a variety of assessment methods, and they could be all coursework based, it could be all exam based, but it's quite a flexible system.
So is it that certain modules are assessed in different ways and that can help you choose which modules as well, or?
Yes, I guess, yeah, there are some modules that are entirely exam based, some modules that are entirely coursework based, and I'm guessing that's kind of the nice thing about it, is that then you can sort of choose what modules you feel a bit more comfortable with.
Yeah, lots of choice, sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So people have asked, did any of you do a gap year? If so, what did you do and how did it impact your uni experience? I know some of you will have different experiences of this depending on when you could. Hannah.
So I did do a gap year. Mine was really, really spontaneous. I decided to do one in the September. I was meant to be going to uni. It was very, very last minute. But yeah, in my gap year, I basically worked and did a few different work experience things to build up my CV, and went traveling, which is obviously the stereotypical thing everybody does. But I think I am so glad I had the extra year for me to kind of work out myself and build my confidence in different contexts, because I feel like without that year I definitely would not have been ready to start a degree and to move to a completely different city. And it probably did help with me with my gap year, because a lot of my friends stayed as well, so there was a few people at home. But I do think it really developed me as a person and increased my confidence a lot to go to university, because university can be very overwhelming, and I know instantly I wasn't ready. So I do feel like if anybody is having major doubts, as long as you can be productive in your gap year, earn some money, and provide, like, get involved with good opportunities, it is like I definitely would recommend it.
That's great, thank you, Hannah. And have any of the languages students, can you let people know how it worked with you if you did was anyone on a year abroad or meant to be on a year abroad? Esme.
Wait, was that just about year abroad?
Year abroad, or yeah.
Yeah, I'm on my term abroad at the moment, but I'm at home. It's actually a lot better than I expected it to be. Obviously, like, it's upsetting to not be able to travel to the country where you're meant to be and really experience the culture, but I've definitely found that my German has improved way more than I thought it would. I have lessons 3 days a week, and I was able to choose all of my modules and stuff and just pick things that I was really interested in. I've got my exams coming up in a few weeks' time, so it's kind of scary. But yeah, I think the way uni's done it to try and give us an alternative so we still get some abroad experience and intensive learning is really, really good. So although it's not ideal, it's not what I wanted, it's still much better than I expected.
Yeah, that's great to hear that you've had some sort of experience, even though obviously it couldn't be exactly what you wanted. It's good that you've still got something positive out of that. That's fab. And Robin?
Hi, yeah, so like Esme, I'm also on a term abroad for Italian, but I'm actually still in Leeds. But regardless, I've actually found that my language skills have like really improved, and the teacher that we had was really lovely. This is actually my last week doing it. And I felt like, you know, my language skills have definitely improved, and I've also met loads of different people from different parts of the world. Like, we had some people from France, some from South America, and it was quite interesting to meet people of different age groups as well. But I've also got I actually got some exciting news a couple of weeks ago saying that that I've been approved to do British Council language assistantship in Andalusia in Spain.
Oh, wow.
And in September, which I'm really excited for, and it means that I can finally get some teaching experience. So it means that I can go and teach English abroad, which I'm really looking forward to, and hopefully please COVID don't screw it up.
That's amazing. Can we get an emoji round of applause for Robin? That sounds great.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. So in terms of your year abroad then, so that is that you're being taught by a different university, is that how it's working?
Yeah,
so it's been taught by a different university. Fantastic.
Yes, I'm being taught by Milan, for example, in Italy.
Perfect. And obviously we're hoping that when you come to university, and obviously it'll be a couple of years down the line, that fingers crossed that you would be able to go on the sort of the standard to year or term abroad. Someone has asked actually about this. How much of a choice do you get when it comes to where you do your year abroad? Don't know if anyone could just talk about that generally.
So I'd say that depending on the combination of your languages, so I'm doing 2 advanced languages. So that means I have to do 1 term abroad in my 2nd year and a year abroad in my 3rd year. And I think that's the same also for ab initio students. They try and convince you to try and do your year abroad in your weaker language so that your language skills like improve a lot more. But obviously when it comes to choosing the actual location in the country itself, then there is a lot of flexibility, there's a lot of choice, and there's also a lot of support from university to guide you to where they think the best places are. So, you know, and you can do study placement or you can work. So it's entirely up to you how you sort of spend your year abroad. And yeah, I'd definitely say, like when you do actually go abroad, like try and make the most of it. And because it is quite a core part of your degree, and I hope you enjoy it as well.
That's great. And Ben, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, just to add to that, really, as Robin said, if you do 2 languages or even 1 language at an advanced level, then you can have the choice to study, find your own work placement, or do a teaching assistantship with the British Council. If you take a language from a complete beginner level, such as Arabic, for example, how it works is like Henna and Tabor said, you go abroad in your 2nd year instead of your 3rd year. So the reason why we don't call the years is because some people go abroad in their 2nd year and then they come back for year 2 of the course. So it's called level 2. So your 1st year is level 1, and then either your 2nd or your 3rd year is level 2. And anyway, and then your final year is level 3, even though you're in your 4th year, if that makes sense. You've done 4 years at universities. It gets a bit complicated because people do different combinations of languages. But if you do a language from beginner level, such as Arabic, for example, you have to go and study abroad, and that's to really bring on your language skills. So I know a guy, and he was doing Russian and Arabic, both from a beginner level at university. And for him, he had to do 2 years abroad studying. So his degree length was actually 5 years. So he did his 1st year for learning the basics. Then he went and spent a year in Russia, and then he spent a year in Morocco, and then now he's back doing his level 2, even though that's his like 4th year of kind of like study, if that makes sense. So if you do a language from beginner, is what I'm trying to say, you don't really get the choice as much. You kind of need to go and study to really bring up your language level. But if you're doing it from advanced, like Robin said, you've got a bit more flexibility in terms of what you can do on your year or your term abroad. And as well, if you do 1 language from an advanced level and 1 language beginner, you're going to do your year abroad in your advanced language, and then you do just a term in your kind of your year abroad in your beginner language, and your advanced language just makes up that term. I'm sorry if this is really confusing, but you can find out all about this on the uni website if you look up the ways in which different courses work, and it gives you a kind of breakdown of how the term and year abroad works.
That's great. No, I think it's a good way to think of it in terms of levels rather than years, because like you say, you can have a 4-year degree, but you do the 3 levels depending. Yeah, no, thank you. That's a good way to talk about it. Okay, we'll have another question about languages, and then we'll go on to some of the more student life questions. Someone's asked, have you got any advice on preparing for studying a language course? And then someone else, as part of their question, asked if they have any tips for keeping immersed in the language, sort of even though everything's online. Thought we could answer those sort of at the same time. Tabor.
I would say one tip that I have is definitely watch a lot of TV shows. Like I know on Netflix, I like always put on Arabic subtitles just so it feels like I'm studying when I'm really not. So I would definitely say watch things with either subtitles or actually watch the show in the language. I also watch a lot of news channels, so boring I know, but in the language as well, just practice. And try to, I don't know if you can do this if you're not in uni, but try to speak to people from that place. But that's my experience. I don't know about anyone else.
That's great. It is also worth saying that after the French, Spanish and German sessions, we asked the deliverers to provide us with any resources or sort of extra reading and stuff. And I know some of them did recommend books and TV. So they're on the Linguastars website. If you scroll down from the main page that we've sent you with all the information on, the additional resources are linked under there. So there might be some good ones under there as well. Okay. So someone has asked, which I think is a really good question, really important as well. Since the university is quite big, do you think there is still a nice sense of community between the students, and how do you find that? Anyone want to hop on with this, Ben?
Yeah, I think everyone's experiences will vary because people have, I mean, there's like, I don't even know how many students there are at the university. There's an awful lot. It's in the thousands. So you're obviously never going to meet every student. It's not like sixth form where you kind of know everyone. But I think generally the vibe in Leeds is quite good, and we're all kind of looking out for each other, especially because we're all going through COVID at the moment. We're all, even though we're at home, I do feel connected, and there's lots of Facebook groups to join, like Leeds student groups and things like that, where people share memes as well as other posts, and kind of like requests or whatever, which helps the sense of community. But I think the union really helps to bring that as well. The societies that you can get involved with, but also knowing who the student executive are, who are voted in, and they're very approachable as well. So you can go to them. But no, I think there's a good sense of community. Accommodation as well. I would say if you're kind of not wanting to be in just a kind of flat in a high-rise building, there are other options available too, which are more kind of community-based, have common rooms that encourage wider group communities to develop. So I think when you're choosing your accommodation as well, it's a really great kind of idea to think about what kind of vibe you want there as well, whether you're just happy with a sort of small flat, or you'd prefer something a little bit broader. I went for the broader option, and that was really helpful to me. I met loads of international students, and it was a really great time to meet so many different people, and that really helps you because you can kind of like find the people that you gravitate towards, and that again helps with the sense of community.
That's great. Has anyone else got anything to add to where you felt you found a sense of community at Leeds? Harriet?
So I think through societies, really, kind of meeting like different people and meeting your people as well. If you all kind of share an interest, that helps. They were definitely kind of my saving part of like first year. And I think it really helps that kind of routine become like to be established, particularly with my course, because we don't have many contact hours. You kind of want something to almost look forward to each week and to kind of start the year off in quite a positive way, meeting new people. And I think kind of picking up a bit on what Ben said, you know, your accommodation, I think there's a lot of kind of focus on that, and whether you kind of, a lot of people talk about meeting your kind of people through that way as well, or kind of meeting people through your course. But there are other ways to do it, and I think sometimes you kind of have to almost branch out a bit from the uni. I know that some people try and get jobs or something working on campus, that kind of helps as well, just to try and kind of meet as many different people as you can.
That's great, thank you very much. So we've got a question that someone's asked, but what advice would you give to someone with anxiety who wants to join university but is really worried? I wonder if anyone has got any advice there. Robin?
So as someone who was very, very anxious before coming to university, I guess it's sort of like a mix between anxiety and excitement. So it's completely normal to feel anxious because at the end of the day, you're going somewhere completely different. You know, you're in a completely different part of the UK. You're meeting different people. You have to look after yourself, and you know, it really, really tests your independence. But I guess the best way I tried to cope with it was trying to set a routine for myself. So setting a routine, like first I go into my first week of lectures and then just see like what times would work for me, what times, you know, not only can I go to lectures, what times are better for me to go shopping or do my laundry. And, you know, it sounds really basic stuff. But once I got that routine stated, I actually found that I was settling a lot better. But as well, there is lots of support at university. You get assigned, as soon as you get to university, a personal tutor, which is somebody who is there for you to, who always sends you emails to make sure that you're okay, that you're settling into university okay, you know, if you need to reach out for support. And, you know, with the anxiety of making friends as well, like, you know, you're not going to necessarily meet your circle of friends like straight in the first few days. It will take a while for you to settle in, and that's completely okay. But I think it's best just to know that everybody's in the same boat and that, you know, everybody's experience is different. And, you know, eventually your nerves will get less and less, like, as you get used to university life.
Thank you. And Hugo, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight a couple more like support or bits of support that are available both through the university and in Leeds in general. The university has a counselling service that's often not a very long wait. Maybe 3 weeks max is the longest I've heard of someone waiting. And what you can do there is you go, obviously it's on Teams at the minute, but in a sort of normal year, it's in person and you meet with a counsellor or a therapist and you have 4-hour-long sessions either every week or every 2 weeks. I did that in like my first month and found it super helpful just because I could sit there with someone that wasn't like mega involved in like my course and stuff, almost like a separate person, and I could just sit and be like, university is stressful, and I'm like, yeah, it is. And that was so I needed. I guess for some more, in-depth therapy stuff as well. And then what you'll probably do as well is register with the Leeds Student Medical Practice, which is like the student GP. They're on it with like mental health and stuff. I don't know if it's because they're like specifically a student GP or what. But so many of their like staff are like mental health trained. They can help, either signpost you to other services, or arrange for prescriptions or whatever you need. But again, I found they've been so on it and so helpful with that. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah, it's good to hear you talk about the different ways, different areas you can get support. So it doesn't all have to be on your course. It can be completely separate to that. So that's great. So sort of leading on from that as well, someone's asked how good are the disability services at Leeds in terms of understanding the variety of levels of disability? I know, Nikita, you mentioned in the chat that you'd be happy to answer some questions about this. So I wondered if you could take the floor.
Yeah, I can take this one. So before I arrived at university, I used to get 25% extra time on my exams at A-levels, but I didn't actually have a diagnosis. The University Disability Services, I got in touch with them and they actually supported me getting a proper diagnosis, which helped me access more of the adjustments that are available at the university. So they are there, they will help you understand the different levels of your condition. Like I found out stuff about myself that I didn't really even know. And if you explain, if you have a diagnosis, if you've got like your assessment documents, they're able to really help and support you. You can ask them what you need and you can change that over time. If over time you realize actually I need help with this as well, I might, maybe you need like subtitles in lectures and things like that. You can request those kind of things, which I didn't realize I could do that. So it's a good thing to know, like you don't just get, here's your support at the beginning of the year. You can't ask for it to be updated and addressed. So yeah, there are experts at the disability services who can really help you with that.
That's fantastic, thank you. And I know that you were responding to some messages in the chat there as well. So if people want to scroll up to see what Nikita said there, that would be great. Fantastic, thank you so much. So another question sort of about student life. Did you have a freshers week this time and what was it like? And then maybe talk about what it's like in normal times, because hopefully that's something that we can look forward to. Hugo?
Yeah, so as you could probably tell by the sort of hesitant pause, I think we were all trying to remember what happened this Freshers Week because it was so nuts with like coming back. A lot of people had left campus and that was like the first time they'd come back, to Leeds and to the university and stuff. And it was odd, I've got to say though, and this is a huge testament to the societies and the people that run them, like the students that run them. Everyone was so on it with virtual events, with virtual socials. And I know that the union have been really on it with like updating their policies in terms of, yeah, I'll get onto that in a second, Nikita. Yeah, they've been really on it with like updating their rules for sort of, what societies can do indoors and outdoors as soon as the guidance have changed. So it was a weird freshers. There were events, but it wasn't anything like normal. Although now I'm starting to see stuff happening in the union. I know like a lot of the sports societies are able to meet up outside, and I know that I think with social distancing, people can be in the union and in like some of the sports spaces, for example, now, which is great. Freshers Week beforehand, yeah, campus is mad. Like it's almost mad to think about it, but you would just be walking through and there'd be people everywhere. There'd be Uber people giving you vouchers. There'd be Domino's people giving you vouchers where you could go and get free pizza from the Domino's 10. There'd be people teaching you how to do CPR. There'd be stalls for societies. There'd be free food everywhere. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, I'd say for your first week, you'll do some like induction stuff for your course as well. But the main thing is just getting out and about and just seeing all the crazy stuff that there is on campus.
That's great, thank you. Yeah, it's worth saying that, yeah, like Hugo said, I think last September when the Freshers Week was and would have been, I think it was one of those at the time that it was, yeah, virtual stuff was happening and people trying to get events online. But I know that now that they're having like a summer I know it's not Freshers Week now, but they're having a summer program now, and that's what Hugo's talking about. They're having some events outside. There's some stuff happening inside, so things are, you know, within the restrictions. They're really trying to build that sense of community back. Apparently, there's been music blasting out of the student union and stuff, so it sounds like they're really trying to get that atmosphere back. And hopefully that'll be a you know, a similar thing, if not normality. We will see. Don't think it'll be normality quite yet, but for the next Freshers Week, I imagine it'll be that hybrid. I think you know, there are some things that do work really well online, and I think it's making the most of those things as well. Nikita, did you have something to add there?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, when I went to the Freshers Fair on campus, I actually went by myself because I didn't know really anybody. I didn't have anybody to go with, but I ended up just talking to people at the stands that I was interested in, and then I just started walking around with them as well, and then we kind of got to know each other. We added each other like on Snapchat and stuff. And so like if you go by yourself, like don't be too anxious. Like people will like try and get to know you. Just everybody's trying to make a friend. Everybody's kind of in a similar situation. So yeah, just don't be nervous about that. You can really meet people just at the Freshers Fair.
That's great, thank you. So I'm going to hop on to another question, sort of about the academic stuff again. What are the biggest differences between A-level and undergraduate study? And another question similar, did you find the jump from A-level to degree difficult? And I think they're asking about languages there. Robin?
So yeah, in my first year, I definitely found the gap between A-level and degree massive, and I found it really difficult. But especially in my first few weeks, like in our seminars or in our lectures, they were talking about stuff, and then all of a sudden we were supposed to become experts about it, and I felt a bit at ease, if I'm honest. Together, what I'd definitely say is that like give yourself time to like get into the process. Like it took me about a month to fully settle into university life, and and usually in your first year it's usually about giving you sort of like a taster of things you might want to, you know, specialize in your next few years. So don't don't be panicked like if you don't understand anything, and obviously, you know, your lecturers are there to help you, and you know they are willing to re-explain stuff to you as well. But I definitely say one of the biggest changes that I found between A-level and university degree was the fact that you actually get a lot more independent study time. I know in sixth form you have like your free periods, but so your timetable is put in a way so you don't start at like 8 a.m. and finish at 3, for example. So here you could be starting at 9 a.m, you could be starting at 12, you could even be starting at 5 p.m. sometimes. And this is sort of to give you a lot more flexibility and give you a chance to really sort of put you on your feet and test your independence and you know, manage your time wisely. But yeah, I definitely say my biggest piece of advice is just like, you know, like give yourself a couple of weeks to like get into the routine, and then eventually it will just be like second nature.
Perfect. And then I just want to, there's one more question that I want to just ask now, and I think it'll be a good ending one. And that is that someone's asked what oh sorry, let me find it. What would you say to someone who is torn on whether to do languages? is there anything that you'd say on someone that isn't exactly sure what they want to do, about whether you would, do languages?
Can I answer this one?
Yeah, of course.
So I would say, if you're not sure, have a look at the joint honours programs, because you can combine languages with so many different combinations. So I do Arabic and English literature. I know people that do like French and sociology. Like, there's loads of different combinations. Definitely have a look at that if you're torn between them. But I think it's also really important to remember that a language degree is like, it's really flexible. So even though you do a language, even if you just pick a language to do, with no joint honours, you'll have loads of other modules as well, like culture modules, history, literature, that kind of thing. I think that's what I would say for that one.
That's perfect, thank you. Yeah, so there's just lots of choice, isn't there? And I think that's something nice, that's nice to know, in terms of choice. So we did have lots of other questions. I did say if there were some about things like personal statements and quite specific things about different courses, but because we do have a Q&A with the admissions tutor, who will be an expert on what they want, that's the person that will be able to tell you what they're looking for in personal statements. That's in our last week, so I did save those so that the ambassadors could tell us about all the different experiences. So I used those questions. So do tune in on week 5, because we'll save those questions and ask the admissions tutor. That can sort of be our starting point. So yeah, thank you so much. I think that's all we've got time for today. Can we have a big round of applause for our ambassadors to say thank you so much for giving such an insight into their university life, the different opportunities, their courses. I think that's been so interesting, and I hope that you guys found it useful. Just a reminder,